The talk I've prepared would be for a youth group, and I've used Hannah's prayer from 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 1 to 10. I'm wondering if there's ever been a time where you have felt completely trapped. Has there ever been a time where you have felt stuck and like there's no way out? My family once went diving with sharks in South Africa. You dive down and you're surrounded by this thick steel cage, and there are sharks that swim round and around. You feel completely trapped and there's no escape. I'm wondering if you've ever had an experience like this. Has there ever been a time where you felt completely trapped and alone? Today we're going to be looking at the prayer of a woman called Hannah. Hannah was a barren woman, meaning that she couldn't have any children. She was in anguish and despair at being unable to give birth, but after she cried out to the Lord for a child, the Lord answered her prayer. Hannah responds by praising God, and we're going to explore this response today by looking at two ideas. Firstly, humanity's brokenness, and secondly, God's providence. Firstly, let's explore humanity's brokenness. Now, each and every one of us has done things that we perceive as being good. We've all done things that give us that warm and fuzzy feeling afterwards. I remember being in high school and taking my friends to church or buying them lunch, and I remember them doing similar things for me as well. Can you think of times when you've done good things for your friends? Hannah begins her cry of praise in 1 Samuel chapter 2 by saying, "There is no one holy like the Lord." And continuing in verse 3, "Do not keep talking so proudly, or let your mouth speak such arrogance. For the Lord is a God who knows, and by him deeds are weighed." We can all think of good things that we've done, but yet Hannah begins her prayer by saying that no one is holy apart from God. Hannah recognizes here that we are all sinful and that this has serious consequences. Our deeds are weighed against and compared to the perfection of God, and we come up short every single time. We read in Colossians chapter 1 verse 21 that we are alienated from God and enemies in our minds because of our evil behavior. The consequences for our sin and shortcoming is that we are separated from the Father forever. We're separated from the ultimate source of strength and love, which Hannah so beautifully praises. Our sin is leading us towards an eternity of death and destruction, separated from God. We're all trapped in a shark cage of sin, and there's nothing that we can do to escape it. However, the cry of Hannah doesn't end here. And this leads me to my second point, God's providence. We know that we all fall short of God's perfect expectations and glory, and this is leading us towards an eternity of death and destruction separated from him. There's nothing that we can do to save ourselves, but God has a plan. Hannah continues her cry of praise in verses 6 to 8. The Lord brings death and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and raises up. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. He seats them with the princes and has them inherit a throne of honor. Hannah recognizes here that God has power over death and life, and he has the power to bring joy to broken people. God's power is exemplified through his plan for us. Colossians chapter 1 verses 21 to 22 says, "Once you were alienated from God and were enemies in your minds because of your evil behaviors. But now he has reconciled you by Christ's physical body through death, to present you as holy in his sight, without blemish and free from accusation." While we were stuck in a shark cage of sin, unable to escape and feeling completely trapped, Christ died that we could be free and experience life with the Father. God, in his infinite love, sent his Son to die that we might be seen as holy in his sight and have our sin conquered. Not only that, but God's power over death and life is seen as he resurrects his Son, meaning that sin and death's defeat is complete, and that we can truly experience a perfect relationship with the Father. So what do we learn from Hannah's prayer? The Lord is able to answer every prayer that you have. He is powerful and He is waiting for you to bring your request before Him. What is stopping you from approaching the infinitely powerful but immensely intimate God? What is holding you back from accepting His perfect gift of grace and life in Jesus?